Hey, we're starting Module 7, and it's kind of an odd place to start. We're not really starting in the beginning of the book, but we're going to start with maybe one of the most important skills that you're going to learn all year long, which is how to solve an equation. And in order to solve an equation, if you're looking at your lesson, we need to do what's called isolate the variable. Isolate means to get alone. So we're going to be working at getting a variable all by itself. And that means we're always trying to use operations that get rid of everything but the variable. And we use what are called inverse operations. And another way of looking at inverse is that we're looking at opposite operations. And the opposite operation of addition, if addition is plus, then the opposite of that is to subtract. So anytime we see addition, I want you to think that in order to isolate, we have to subtract. And then looking at it the other way, the inverse operation of subtraction, well, that's addition. So anytime we see subtracting, we're going to be adding to get rid of values so that we can isolate a variable. Isolate, again, means to get alone. The opposite of multiplying, and another way you can think of inverse operation is this word right here. We're going to be undoing something. To undo multiply, that's division. And the other way around, the inverse operation of division is multiplication. So anytime we see dividing happening in an equation, we're going to use multiply to isolate. Okay, so when we're going to solve equations, we do have a couple rules we need to follow. Number one is we always want to show our steps. Your teachers always want to see your work. They want to see how you got to your answer. And it might not seem so important when we're just looking at some simple one-step equations, which is like this. This is kind of stuff you see in the 5th and 6th grade. As we get to more steps, showing each step is important. And the last thing we want to do is I would like for you to box your answer, because that way we know exactly what you think your answer is, and it helps us to get to the bottom of your thinking and your reasoning. Let's take a look at this first equation. If you read it from left to right, it says x plus 3 equals negative 1. And this right here, x, is our variable, and that's what we are trying to isolate. We're always trying to isolate the unknown. And this right here is what we need to get rid of, this plus 3. And say it to yourself, plus 3. The inverse operation of plus 3, you may have guessed now based on your prior educational experiences, is to minus 3. So we put a minus 3 there, and we put a minus 3 there. That negative sign is really important. And plus 3 and minus 3, these things are inverse operations, and they cancel out to be 0. And all that's left here is x equals. And negative 1 and a negative 3, they're both negative. It makes a negative 4. And we are going to box that as our answer. And that is what these one-step equations are going to look like. So if I come over here, a minus 1 equals negative 10. A is my variable, and that's what I'm trying to isolate, and I see this next to it, a minus 1. The inverse operation of minus 1 is plus 1, and it's important that you put that sign. So we're going to put a plus 1 on both of the sides of the equation, once on the left side of the equal sign, and once on the right. Minus 1 and plus 1, these cancel to be 0, and that leaves us just with a equals. And negative 10 plus 1 is negative 9. We're going to get lots of practice with our integers, so if you make a mistake, check your answers, go back, find your mistake. It is not a big deal. We will figure it out together. Take a look at this next equation. This says negative 5x equals negative 10. This means negative 5, since it's next to the x, there's no operation symbol in between them. That means we're going to be multiplying. That means x times this negative 5. And the inverse operation of multiply by a negative 5 is to divide by a negative 5. And this is how we show it. We use a fraction symbol, and we put a negative 5 on the bottom. So I'm going to do the same thing on the other side over here. Put a negative 5 underneath both of them. Negative 5 divided by a negative 5 is positive 1. And all you're left with is 1x. So we don't need to write a 1 next to the x. We'll just call it x. And a negative divided by a negative is a plus. It's a positive. 10 divided by 5 is 2. So the answer is x equals 2. Last, this is what a division problem looks like. This says x divided by 4. And the inverse operation of dividing by 4 is to multiply by 4. Sometimes people put a dot and a 4 down here. I'm not a big fan. I kind of like to keep it in the numerator. This is in the denominator. It's underneath. I'm going to put the 4 in parentheses, and I'm going to put it next to the x. And I'm going to put a 4 in parentheses right there next to the 2. This 4 is going to cancel with that 4. They become 1. And you're just like over here on this third example, we just left with 1x, which is x equals, and 2 times 4, which is nice and simple at 8. It seems like every time we teach equations, problems like this really throw students for a loop. If I read this problem, it says negative, and then it says g over 3. That's g divided by 3 equals 1. And we're trying to isolate the g, which means we got to get g by itself. And next to the g is this 3, which is dividing, but also the negative sign. And we got to get rid of the negative sign too. And this says negative and then dividing by 3, and the inverse operation of that, to get rid of the negative, we're going to have to multiply by another negative. And because this is dividing by 3, we need to multiply by a 3. So the correct step to get rid of the negative sign and the 3 is to multiply by a negative and also the 3. So we're going to multiply both sides by the negative 3. And here's what happens. The negative sign cancels out with that negative sign because they're positive. And the 3 divided by the 3 is 1. And really all you're left with is positive again, 1g. So the correct answer to this is g equals a negative 3. And we'll make sure we box our answer there too.